everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for clicking on this video because I actually got a lot of requests and questions to do this. Some of you may know, and you can look back at my vlog I just posted, that I went on a trip to Mexico, me and my boyfriend alone. It was actually his first flight ever. I've been on flights, but this is my first alone out of the country. So people had questions on how did I afford it, how much did it cost, how did I do it, what was the plan, all of that. So this video is going to be answering all those questions that I just said. I just turned 18 and I did pay for this whole trip by myself. I've been working about 2 years. I've been saving. I do spend. I don't save every single penny. Let's say you have the money. Let me show you how you, no matter what age you are, you can go on a trip like this anywhere around the world. You can do it. Step number 1, choose the goal of your trip. So do you want it to be a relaxing trip, drinking margaritas on the beach? Do you want it to be history, looking at the ancient temples? Figure out what the goal of your trip is and where you want to go. So what's the goal and where? For me and Alec, our goal was to just explore Puerto Vallarta. And you also want to choose who you're going with or by yourself. But if you are, who and what's the budget, because the more people you bring, it could bring the price down depending on the hotel. For me, obviously I wanted to bring Alec. Our budget was about $2,000 for the whole trip. That's the max we wanted to pay. And we actually ended up paying $1,390 each. So it was below budget, so that was awesome. Next, you want to choose the length of your trip. So do you want to go backpack Europe for 3 months? Do you want to just go to New York for the weekend? Do you want to go to Mexico, Puerto Vallarta for 1 week? So me and Alec chose 1 week because we did at the time have jobs. I don't now because COVID shut down my restaurant, but we had to choose a not too long of a time because we have jobs. So he had to do 1 week for his job. And also we did 1 week because longer than that would have obviously added more money because of the hotel. We could have definitely done this trip way cheaper. We could have definitely done that, but we wanted to do it this way, and it was his first trip ever, so we wanted it kind of luxurious, but you can definitely cut the price probably by half. Now let's look at the flight. What I do is I choose my flight and that decides my dates because I choose the cheapest flight. Always, always, always. When you're looking at flights, put your browser on incognito, and that way it can't change your prices. So for example, if some people used to go to the library to pick their airline flight because it would be cheaper on that than an Apple computer. We all know our phones and computers track what we're looking at. So when you look at flights, it's gonna raise the price because it's like, oh, now they wanna go to Russia, let me raise the price. So put it in incognito and they will not know who you are, and that will make your flights cheaper. So then you wanna use Skyscanner, you can use Kiwi, you can use this app called Hopper. Hopper tells you if you should buy it now or later. It'll tell you if the price is gonna drop or you should buy it now because it's gonna keep going up. Buy your flights, purchase them on Tuesdays and maybe even fly on a Tuesday or Wednesdays. Those seem to be the cheapest days. Bring like a hotel package, so like a flight hotel package, maybe even a hotel, flight, and rental car package. Those sometimes can make it cheaper. For me, it did not make it cheaper because I use Alaska Airlines and my mom has miles, so we wanted to do it that way. For some people, if you don't have that, then packages might be cheaper. You just have to look at your options. Me and Alec's flight cost $488 per person. Next, you want to choose your activity. What I first did was I looked up things to do in Puerto Vallarta. Really easy, right? Look up where you're going, things to do, and Google will show all the top tourist places. Look at YouTubers and see what they like to do, because that's what I did. Ask on your Instagram or whatever. Ask people you know that have been. So I asked a few people I knew who went to Puerto Vallarta. I also posted on my Instagram story, what are things to do in Puerto Vallarta, and people told me some things. Atlas Obscura, those are things that are less touristy things that you can find.
So this website I've used a lot. They have just everywhere in the whole world. I've used it for Washington. I used it when I went to LA. So you could say what's near me, for example. And it's going to show me things that are not super touristy, but still cool things like this crazy big rock. Like, you know, some of them might be cool, some of them are kind of lame.
And I actually use this in Seattle, so when I want to do something that's not the Space Needle, I look at Atlas Obscura and it'll show me all these secret trails and all these like hobbit houses, and you can find like some unique things. So they actually have that for all over the world. You could find unique things in Paris that aren't so touristy. TripAdvisor, this is what I used for like the whole trip. We also knew we wanted to parasail, we wanted to ATV, zip line, we wanted to ride horses, but we actually did donkeys instead because it was cheaper. So we made some sacrifices. And in that sacrifice, even though we sacrificed riding horses and we did donkeys, it also added on something we weren't even planning, jumping off waterfalls and tequila tasting. So that was pretty nice. We bought that at the hotel, not on TripAdvisor. We found it on TripAdvisor and I was like, I should book it. It might, you know, be too booked by the time we get there. No, my mom was like, wait till you get to the hotel and it's gonna be cheaper, and she was right. TripAdvisor had a way higher price. When we went to the hotel and booked it with the hotel, it was like way cheaper. And then we met someone who actually was at the hotel. He instead walked away from the hotel into somebody else just on the street who was selling it, and they got it for half of the price. So don't book it on TripAdvisor, research the activities on TripAdvisor, but then book it when you're there. We also knew we wanted to snorkel, swim with dolphins, and go to Maritas Island. So we did when we were there. We found someone on the beach who was selling this package: snorkel, swim with dolphins, go to the Maritas Islands. He also added on kayaks, paddleboards, and banana boats. Unfortunately, we did not like that tour. It was the Vallarta Adventures Eco Tour. I wouldn't recommend it. I loved the people working there, so I hate to say it, but they had it at 7:30 a.m., which we thought we would be fine with, but they had us snorkel at 8 a.m., which was way too cold. So we couldn't snorkel. We didn't get to go to the Maritas Island because we had to snorkel to it and it was too cold to snorkel. Half the boat didn't go. I also got seasick, which was not their fault. But anyways, I wouldn't recommend that. And then we also knew we wanted to go to a nightclub. So we knew we wanted to do these activities. So we researched them on TripAdvisor and we made like a loose itinerary. So we were like, okay, we know we want to relax the first day. Then let's kind of plan out, we're gonna do this, but we didn't stick to it because we didn't book it on TripAdvisor. This helped us, so if we woke up and we're like, you know what, I don't really want to parasail today, I'd rather zipline, then we would go book that instead. So make a loose itinerary so you know you have enough time to do those activities, but I wouldn't recommend booking it because then when you get there, you might change your mind. You might see something like, oh my gosh, I would way rather do that than what I booked, you know? Book your hotel around your activities. You don't want all your activities to be over here and your hotel way over here. You want to put your hotel near your main activities. Maybe a couple activities are away, but you want to try to book them near. I used Expedia to book my first hotel, and then I booked the second hotel on the Hilton website. So sometimes Expedia and TripAdvisor have good prices, but sometimes if you go to the direct hotel, so let's say the Expedia Hilton is $300 a night, but then you go to the Hilton website, it's going to be like $150 a night because Expedia has to take some of the money. So research on Expedia, I definitely recommend that because you can compare all the hotels, but then once you find your hotel, I would recommend to go to the exact website of that hotel. If you want like a resort, all-inclusive, then do the hotel. If you want to cook your own food, you want a way cheaper trip, then do it at an Airbnb. So we knew we wanted to stay at one really nice hotel and relax the first day. That one cost $193 per person, and that was for the ultimate suite, jacuzzi on our deck, but it wasn't all-inclusive, so we had to pay for food, which was $43 for dinner, and that included 6 tacos, 2 drinks. So that would have added up if we had done that every single night. So we also wanted to do a hotel that was all-inclusive, and that's why we chose Hilton, and that one cost $472 per person for 6 nights. Another way, if you're going to Europe or something like that, there's a few websites called Hostel Bookers, Hostel World, and Couch Surfing. And those are hostels, which is kind of like a dorm that you share with people, and they can be from like $5 to $40 a night, depending where you are. And some of them include breakfast, some of them include food. But that way, when you're backpacking, maybe you're backpacking through Europe, you're gonna be way cheaper. I mean, $10 a night compared to $100 for a hotel. It's definitely the smarter, cheaper version. But I preferred to not do hostels in Mexico. So we decided we did want all-inclusive. We didn't want an Airbnb because we didn't want to cook. We wanted to try Puerto Vallarta's food. So that's why we did all-inclusive, because it was a cheaper version than doing non-all-inclusive, and we didn't want to cook, so we chose all-inclusive. That was our thought process. Also, we knew we wanted to drink since we can in Mexico, so that was the smart version for us. You could choose an Airbnb, a hotel, an all-inclusive hotel, or a hostel. Those are some of the options. I'm sure there's more, but those are the options I would look at. Next, are you going to rent a car? Are you gonna do taxi? Are you gonna do shuttle? For our hotel, it was a $70 shuttle and it was a $12 taxi. So we were definitely gonna do the taxi. We did not wanna rent a car because Puerto Vallarta has different laws and it's kind of scary to drive for us. My mom did do it when we were in Playa del Carmen and she was fine, but you decide what's best for you, which is the cheapest option, what's the safest for you. Plan out your transportation. So from home to the airport, and who's gonna pick you up when you get home, and also how you're gonna get the airport to the hotel. Or you could take Uber. Uber is another option definitely in Mexico too. You definitely also want to research scams that happen in the location you're going. There's lots of scams in Puerto Vallarta. I'm not gonna list them all out, but one of the main ones was taxi scams. So for example, the taxi that we were taking was 214 pesos. And sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, 214. And then they'll trick the American and say, no, we meant $214. Or like they'll try to trick you somehow. And anyways, we did not want to fall for anything like that. We had a taxi price chart list. So we knew 214 pesos. So when we got there, I was like, 214 pesos to our hotel. He was like, okay. He knew I knew what I was talking about. He wasn't gonna scam me. $12 for a 40-minute drive. That would have been way more in Seattle. A few other things, they don't apply to everywhere you're going, but some tips to not forget is to order foreign currency at your bank. It'll be the cheapest if you're gonna do that. Mexico did not require Mexican pesos. You can use American dollars. So we brought 500 in cash. 100 was for emergencies only. So we're planning on spending $400. Ended up only spending a total of $237, and that was on taxi, food at the first hotel, and activities. Another thing to definitely have is either write in your notes the basic currency conversion or currency conversion app, because when you see something that's 214 pesos, you're like, oh my gosh, your mind thinks it's in US, and you have to remember that that's nothing at all compared to that. Another thing, don't forget to take time off your work and make sure you have your passport, and also make sure you have any visas. Some places might require visa requirements. Wherever you're going, they did not. Another thing, definitely notify your bank, because you want to tell them that you're going to be in Mexico or wherever you are, because if you spend your credit card on an activity, they're not going to let it go through because they don't know you're there. So make sure you notify your bank. Obviously, pack. I did overpack a little bit, which is not common for me, but the only reason this could be bad is if you want to bring something home, or if it's a check bag, it's more weight. But we did end up wanting to bring a tequila bottle home, and it didn't fit in my bag, but it did fit in Alex. Another thing I like to do before when I'm deciding where I want to go, is I look at locations on Instagram. So if I'm like, do I want to go to Playa del Carmen or Puerto Vallarta, you can either look on Google Maps and like go street view and look at what the town really looks like, or you can also go on Instagram and go to places and look at that location of what people post, and you can be like, oh, you know, Playa del Carmen has really clear water and white sand, I'd rather go there, or Puerto Vallarta has a really cool town and culture and I'd rather go there. So that can help you decide where you want to go deciding on to. Another thing is to look at the weather of where you're gonna go. Obviously, when we were going to Puerto Vallarta, it was sunny every day. It wasn't gonna rain, but maybe you're going to Costa Rica and it's gonna rain 3 of the days you're there. Maybe you want to do like something that's indoors that day. Plan out your activities based on the weather as well, because you don't want to really be doing something in the freezing cold. Last but not least, this is totally up to you. Everyone has different opinions. You may want to have cellular data on your phone. Some people are fine. If you're going like somewhere that's going to have a lot of town, you're going to be at coffee shops, you can use public Wi-Fi. If you're going to be at your hotel the whole time, you're going to be using their Wi-Fi. You don't need to buy extra cellular data. But if you're going to be somewhere where you would feel safer with cellular data, or it's your job, you need to be having cellular data, make sure that you get that. And there's a few ways to do this. I have T-Mobile, and that has free international data, but it's very slow. It's basically like nothing for me. Luckily, Alex's phone already had it in his plan, international data. You're just gonna have to research that and call your phone company. But another way is to buy a prepaid SIM card at the airport, but this only works on unlocked phones. Another way is to rent a pocket Wi-Fi at the airport, or if some Airbnbs in Japan and Tokyo, they actually have them at the Airbnb for you to use. So you just have to do your research on that. So that's everything. That's how I planned my trip. Those are my tips on a cheap budget trip, and I hope it helps you out, and hopefully you get to go on a trip really soon.